Hello, hello. My name is Matt Van Horn. I am co-founder and CEO of June, an intelligent appliance company based in San Francisco, and very honored and excited to be here today. So thank you so much for coming. I just joked the organizers that I should go to the hallway and say I'm not starting until 20 more people fill those final 20 seats in the back, but really excited you're here. So kind of wanted to walk through some of the things we're going to talk through today. The story of June, how we use artificial intelligence for cooking. Sounds crazy. And machine learning in an oven. Why would someone do that? And how artificial intelligence benefits the June community, and interesting things we're doing with data and with Alexa. Messed that up already with the echo hiding on the stage back here. As well as some future things that we haven't talked about yet. So thank you for having me. So let's start with the story of June. So a little bit of my background. I worked at Apple in college. It's the coolest college job ever. Got to do marketing around my university in Tucson, Arizona. And at the end of college, my best friend and I, we started a transportation company. That company was called Zimride at the time, named after a trip we took to Zimbabwe. And with Zimride, we actually couldn't raise any money back then. And so I said to my best friend, Logan, hey, I'm going to go learn from other entrepreneurs so I can learn from them before doing something crazy again, which turned out to starting an appliance company with Nikhil. And so then I spent time at a startup called Dig and another startup called Path. And by the way, my failed college project that I started with my best friend, that company's Lyft and just IPO'd a few months ago, and have remained an advisor to the company, and Logan's an investor in June as well, and still my best friend. And Nikhil, my co-founder at June, so Nikhil grew up in Delhi, India, and he decided he wanted to study in the US. And so remember when you had to mail your applications? This was like pre-internet applying to school. So he made this big packet because he only wanted to send it once to a friend with all the top engineering schools that he wanted to apply to. His application got lost, wasn't able to apply to all the schools he wanted to, ended up only finding one top 20 engineering school that would let him apply late, which was Purdue, which is a great school. So he got on a plane to America to see it for the first time, lands in rural Indiana, and that was his first experience. It wasn't quite the New York he was expecting. And then he went on to Motorola and worked on the Razr flip phone. How many people own the Razr flip phone? And I remember that was one of the first phones that you could actually take a photo. It didn't look very good, but you could actually take a photo and you could see the future, where that might go, where that could go. And then, because he was the camera guy at Motorola, Apple recruited him out. And so Nikhil worked on iPhone 1 through 5, iPad 1 and 2. There's a camera in our oven. If you haven't picked up on that lately, we'll get to that later. And Nikhil's in the patents for panorama, tap-to-focus, instant shutter, and invented a lot of Apple's core camera technology. And the two of us met at a startup called Path. And the two of us, we both loved cooking. And we didn't know this about each other. We actually decided to start a company together, just knowing that we wanted to start a company together, without knowing what in particular we wanted to do. And we were spending lots of late nights, my apartment, Nikhil's apartment, and we start to get hungry. And at first, we'd start cooking very simple meals like Eggo waffles, and then we'd start making more elaborate meals. And I remember we were, stuffing Cornish hens with lime wedges, and my wife came home, and she's like, "What are you guys doing? Aren't you supposed to be working on your startup idea?" And I was like, "Hold on, honey. I think we're onto something." And to us, we had this idea that we kind of looked at the entire appliance industry as a whole, and we said, okay, nothing has changed here. There are these big metal boxes that are pretty much just jewelry. There's no technology, there's no sensors, there's no intelligence, and we'd spent a lot of time in mobile and kind of knew where that industry was heading, and we said, what if we were to start an appliance industry from scratch, an appliance company from scratch? What if we were to build an oven from scratch? We knew nothing about appliances or building ovens. And what if we put a camera in the top and could recognize the most commonly cooked foods and cook them perfectly every single time. And I remember there was this moment in the early days of the company where Nikhil says to me, he's like, Matt, are we really going to be able to fundraise to start this AI appliance company from scratch? And I said, sure, yeah, no problem. And then I go to Nikhil, I was like, Nikhil, are we really going to be able to put a camera in an oven, not have it melt, and be able to recognize most commonly cooked foods and cook them perfectly? He said, yeah, sure, no problem. How naive we were to think that we could do that. But somehow, some way, we're here, and very, very honored to be on stage here, and we actually have a shipping product that you can buy today, the June Oven Gen 2. And so this is our second generation June oven. So our first generation June oven was $1,500, and then our second generation June oven, which I'll be demoing in a little bit, is $599 and $799. And we've actually sold out 4 times since we launched the new one. And so you won't get it until probably, got a marketing team in the room, 3 weeks? Yeah, if you order today, 3 weeks, which is the best it's been in a long time. So our customers are waiting about 2 months right now that we're back ordered. So very excited to share more with you today. So something interesting that I kind of see a lot, and it's funny, AI is such a buzzy word. I feel like it's funny, we're literally at an AI conference, so it's certainly buzzy here. But I feel like almost every investor pitch deck that I see or things like that, people are like, oh, we're doing AI for this, AI for that, AI for this. And what's interesting is success to June with AI is that you never know that there's any AI in there at all, that there's no intelligence. To our end customer, we just want people to think that the oven's smart and they're getting a good experience. And so I feel like there's a lot of AI for the sake of AI, but there's not a lot of artificial intelligence that will actually empower you to improve people's lives. So how do we take very complex math challenges and machine intelligence problems and turn that into great product? And that's how we think about product here at June. So the June right now is a 7-in-1 appliance. It's a convection oven. It'll toast your bread. It'll air fry, dehydrate, slow cooker, broiler, as well as a warming drawer. The best feature of the June oven is it's the first appliance that gets better over time instead of worse. So we're literally able to build new appliances in software. So when we launched originally, we didn't have an air fryer. We didn't have a dehydrator. These came as software updates later. And now our #1 recipe of all of our guided walkthrough recipes is actually air-fried chicken, which is something that we built as a software update, which is really fascinating and really amazing that we're able to build this platform for cooking. And my marketing team's going to get mad at me, but we'll be more than 7-in-1 soon. Shh, don't tell anyone, because we have a lot more coming. And so now I'm excited to demo and show you how the June oven works. And I have one goal, and it's not to fall off the stage. So please wish me luck as I'm teetering over here. So we don't have a camera to zoom in, so I'll just explain everything as it's going. I'm going to be on the edge so I know where it is, because that's the safest, right? So this is the Gen 2 June Intelligent Oven. And so right here we have our cook programs: bake, roast, slow cook, broil, toast, air fry, dehydrate, reheat, warming drawer. We also have a Whole Foods app on every single oven. Amazon is one of our investors through the Alexa Fund, and we have a partnership with Whole Foods where we've worked with Whole Foods to work with them on their most popular foods to create custom cook programs for the most popular foods that Whole Foods sells. And so, for example, you're actually able to take a 365 thin crust pizza, put it in the June oven, and a little Whole Foods icon will come up and we'll have a custom cook program, so you don't have to read the instructions in the box. We've written these custom programs. You just press start, and we will cook that pizza perfectly, and it will taste better than your normal oven, I promise, or I'll buy you a pizza. And then a cleaning app as well. And so what's interesting about the June is you can cook the old-fashioned way. You can bake at 350, 425, etc. But we also have our automated cook programs. So in our automated cook programs, so I tapped vegetables, we have asparagus, broccoli, broccolini, Brussels sprout halves, different types of mushrooms. And our culinary team is constantly adding and pushing out new program updates. And so all of these cook programs are multi-step cook programs that have been trained by a chef. And the other day, so I'm the main cook in my household, and my wife and I, we have 2 young kids, a 3.5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old. And after breakfast, I got a notification on my phone that kale chips were being cooked. And I was like, what? Who's cooking kale chips? I go to my wife, are you cooking kale chips? Like, she does not cook kale chips. And she's like, yeah, I just put olive oil and put in the June, and it did the rest. I'm like, yeah, I know that. You know that, but you're cooking kale chips right now at 9 o'clock in the morning. And she said, yes. And it's just so easy and so simple, where it's just one-tap cooking. And what's amazing is the majority of cooking that happens in the June, people are using our automated cook programs. And then I'll go to the protein section, everything from bacon. Bacon's very controversial. I'll get there later. Beef hot dogs, overnight beef jerky, beef roast, lamb chops, meatballs, etc. And we're constantly adding more and more to this list. Anyway, let's start cooking. So can someone verify that this looks like a real steak? 2 people in the front. Does that look like a real steak? All right. I would offer someone to taste test it later, but I'm not allowed to. Yeah, so it's just salt and pepper on this steak. And so I plug in the core temperature thermometer, and it's hard to see, but so we have a camera that sits on top of the oven, and we replace the clock with our 2 best guesses for what we think this is. So the oven believes that this is either a steak or a lamb chop. And even if we're 99% confident that this is a steak, we still want that training data from the customer. We want to learn as much as we can from our customers to improve cooking for everyone. And so tap on the steak, swipe to browse tips, use the food thermometer, put food on the roasting rack, middle shelf position, and then after cooking, rest on a plate for 5 minutes. So I tap continue. Uh-oh, someone cooked this medium last time I was here. I'm going to change it to medium rare. It would just be 1 tap right now, but I'm going to change it quickly to medium rare. So I tap medium rare and start. And what's amazing is my daughter, who's 3 years old, she can't even read, and she can cook in the June oven. We cook a few times a week, where literally she'll put it in, she'll see the chicken icon. We did a whole chicken 2 nights ago. And she will tap the chicken icon. She knows the orange button moves forward, and then we're able to have the oven cook that chicken perfectly. And so something you'll notice is we didn't preheat the oven. So on the oven, it says right here, we're on step 1 of 8 of our steak program. So back to what I was saying before, we have a team of professional cooks and chefs that are teaching the oven to think like a chef. So we're running an 8-step, multi-step cook program right now that's starting with a convection roast. Then it's going to move to a high-power broil to give that nice char, that nice caramelization. And then my favorite step is actually step 6. So step 6 is very similar to what a yakiniku chef does in Japan, where if you're at a charcoal grill and they have it on the heat, and then in the middle of cooking, they'll remove it, let it rest for a little bit, and then bring it back. We emulate that in software. And so we have a rest step in the middle of cooking where we emulate that experience within the June oven. So my favorite feature on the June is that it's always getting better. My second favorite feature is this feature called ETA. So ETA stands for the estimated time of arrival of your food. So if you've got a petite filet versus a tomahawk steak, that's going to take a different amount of time. And so we're running a prediction algorithm, which I'll talk more about in a bit, to predict how long it's going to take until your steak is ready. So we've got, I think, about 13 minutes. Let's see if my Echo knows. Alexa, ask June the ETA.
Sorry, I'm having trouble accessing your June oven skill right now.
Wah, wah, wah. Worked before, and it works for home. It works for me at home every day. But anyway, so one of my favorite features is being able to do this, to be in the other room, to be with my family, to be with my wife, to be able to check in on things as they're cooking. I can use my phone, or I can use my Echo, except today at the Amazon conference. And then on the mobile side, I'm able to see how much time is left, able to show the ETA, so there's 12 or more minutes. I can see which heating elements are on, so right now it's just the broiler heating elements. And so we're able to see how hot the oven is. It's 150 degrees in there right now. The current temperature of the steak is 66 degrees, and this is the graph of our steak coming together. And then, of course, a live streaming video of our steak. This is literally our steak right now that is live streaming. So if you're watching the game, if you're not home, we've had customers that email us that say they try to get home earlier once they see that food has been put in the oven. That they say, okay, it's time to start commuting home because it's now time. Another funny thing, I won't call out who it was, but someone at Amazon who owns a June oven sent me an email the other day that he got in trouble with his wife because she was out of town and she saw that he did a 1 a.m. pizza. And he wasn't supposed to be eating 1 a.m. pizza during the week. And she was able to tell that from getting the notification on her phone while she was out of town. And then in the history section, we're able to see what we've been cooking lately. You can see a time-lapse video of your steak or whatever else you've been cooking. And then we also have the cookbook, where we've created this professional content of videos and multi-step cooking. So I just tapped on the whole roasted branzino, and we show you all the ingredients. You tap Get Started, and we show you every single step of the way. So season and stuff the fish. So stuff it with some lemon wedges and some thyme and salt and pepper. And we keep showing this looping video until you're ready to go to that next step. Then season the outside of the fish, and then create steam vents. Again, that's the type of thing that, like, if I was just reading a recipe, create steam vents in a fish. What does that even mean? But able to watch the video with the knife right here. I've never seen this video before, by the way, so I now know how to create steam vents in a fish because I'm seeing this clip. It's quite simple. And able to do that really, really nicely. We show proper probe placement, etc. And then you can also write your own multi-step cook programs for the June. So say you don't like our steak program and you prefer to do the broil at the end instead of the beginning, you're able to write that multi-step cook program yourself and then send it to your oven and then also share it with your friends and family or the June community as well. By the way, our ETA is about 7 minutes and 50 seconds. So what is our goal? We want to teach the oven to think like a chef, to do the types of things that a professional chef does in their kitchen. We want to automate that process as much as possible once it goes in the oven, not before, though. One of the interesting things is people ask me often, do you believe in robotic cooking? Should June replace all cooking in your life? And for us, we actually love cooking. We love getting down and dirty. I love carting garlic. I love preparing things. I love learning new skills. I just don't want it to do the wrong thing once it's in the oven. And so we're able to do that so you don't have to worry about the little things because we can solve that for you. Something that's really powerful is the feedback loop. I'm sure you're similar in your Echo app where it says, did you mean to say this thing? Did we get this right? That feedback is so important. And so in the June app, we're looking for constant feedback. How did everything go today? You can either happy face it, sad face it, leave commentary to go with that. And what's also great is we're able to push out continuous updates to our community. And so we had a customer who emailed us. He sad-faced his whole chicken and said, hey, June. There's no one named June, by the way, the company. It's the month. Said, hey, June. So I cooked a chicken last night, and it was burnt on the outside and raw on the inside still. I want to return my oven. And so what's amazing is our customer experience team was able to log in and see that person's video logs and pull up all the sensor data from that particular cook session. And they were able to say, hey, actually, you put it in too early, the probe was in the wrong position, and you should have let it preheat before starting for that particular program. And so that customer said, okay, I'm going to try one more time to make a chicken. And so the next day, he posted on the Facebook group. So now he's posting publicly in our community. And he says, you're not going to believe this. 2 nights ago, I made the worst chicken of my life and wanted to get rid of my oven. And then the June team was able to log in to my oven and tell me what I did wrong. And then tonight, I made the best chicken of my life. Thank you, June. And what's interesting about that is it technically was user error, but what's amazing is we were able to learn from that experience. And so we had this feature on the oven where, so there's kind of a difference between a normal preheat and something we've created called a gentle preheat. And so a normal preheat is just like max heat from top and bottom, just trying to get it as warm as possible. And so that's what was happening to his chicken, but it never got there, and so it was just charring the outside because it never actually hit that temperature because the thermal mass was too great. And so what we created from a feature-wise was we created this feature called gentle preheat, where it's still trying to get to that target temperature, but in a much nicer way, not trying to char the outside as we get to that target temperature. And then we built an intelligence feature that we call skip preheat. So if food has been detected, we'll automatically move to the gentle preheat. And so we actually launched that feature. And so even though it was user error, we figured out how to improve the experience for everyone. Another area where we're able to learn from our customers. So we have a lot of foods that we recognize right now and have created custom cook programs for, but something that we do from time to time is we will look at all the data of what people are cooking in their June ovens to figure out what we don't have cook programs for. And so a few months ago when we looked at this, the number one thing that people were cooking in their June oven that we knew nothing about was actually reheating of tortillas. If you think about it, reheating of a tortilla, it's not baking, it's not toasting, it's somewhere in between, more similar to a toast, but people were doing it a lot. And so our culinary team and our machine intelligence team worked to train on tortillas. And what's amazing, if you think about in computer vision, we have this controlled light box that we have here, but we also have thousands and thousands and thousands of photos of food from our customers. And so we had lots of photos already of tortillas. And so when we were training on tortillas, it was quite easy because we had a starting point already. And so we pushed out tortillas, and it's a top 50 program for us now. And we're able to make it better and better for our community by constantly making their oven better. So here's an example of the Multistep Cook program. So convection roast, very high broil, convection roast again, baking, and so you can create these multi-step cook programs, but we've also done this for everything that we have inside the oven. Now remember I talked about bacon earlier. Very controversial. How many people like chewy bacon in the audience? How about crispy bacon? All right, seems about 60-40 on the crispy side. So when we launched originally, so this is the Gen 1 June oven, we had a one-size-fits-all bacon program. And we had lots of complaints. You burnt my bacon's raw, you suck, I want to return my oven. And so we got this feedback very quickly in the early days. And so we were able to bring our culinary team together and our engineering team together and said, how do we solve the bacon problem? We actually call it Bacongate internally at June. Still one of the most, arguably the biggest disaster in company history was Bacongate. And so people cook a lot of bacon. I think we actually got a shout out on stage by Dave Limp yesterday about bacon too. And he's happy with bacon, so we may have solved this problem. And so what's amazing is we have a video log of every piece of bacon cooked in all the June ovens. We have all the sensor data for all the bacons cooked in all the June ovens. We have everything about every piece of bacon ever cooked in all the June ovens. And so our culinary team and our engineering team came together and said, how do we solve bacon? And so bacon has actually become our most complex program. We ended up going from one bacon program to 64 bacon programs. But choosing from a list of 64 options is a terrible user experience. And so when we were doing our research, the biggest variable for perfect bacon, the most important one, is actually number of slices. If you have one slice of bacon versus 9 slices of bacon, it's a completely different cook program. And so we added this intelligence feature. So our machine intelligence team, we've got 2 in the audience. Hi, Nishit. Hi, Jith. Who was able to build a feature that was able to automatically count the number of slices and pre-fill that field automatically, so you don't have to type that in. And then we remember preference. Do you like your bacon chewy? Do you like your bacon crispy? Is it a thin cut or a thick cut? And are you using tin foil or not? How many people use tin foil when they're cooking bacon in the oven? All right, got a few. A lot of people do it for cleanability reasons, but that will change the cook program. So we pushed out 64 bacon programs, and we no longer get complaints about bacon. We solved BaconGate for now. So how do we use artificial intelligence and machine learning at June? So I gave the example before of counting the number of slices of food. And that's, I think, a great example of how a feature that's extremely complex to make, like counting number of slices of bacon, to an end customer, it just says, oh yeah, my oven's just smart, it just counts. And so that's our goal, is to create this automagical experience that just feels like your oven just is smart and just knows what to do. So like I said before, one of my favorite intelligence features in the June is ETA. 2 minutes and 30 seconds or more. Looks pretty good, by the way. So ETA is the estimated time of arrival of your food. So it's a prediction of when food is done, and this only happens when you're using the internal thermometer. So it can be with a cook program, but it can also be if you're cooking something, like if you had a quail, like we don't have a quail program right now in the June, and if you probe that quail, we'll actually be able to run the ETA program on any type of food that you use the core temperature thermometer on. Food recognition. So we've built this food ID technology that provides near instantaneous recognition of foods. And what's interesting is when we first, in the early days of June, we didn't have that many foods that we recognized with the camera. And so it actually wasn't that useful of a feature. Because if you think about food ID in the beginning, food ID is a shortcut to our cook programs. In the beginning, when we had 10 foods, 25 foods, it wasn't that hard to choose from a list. Now we have hundreds of cook programs with hundreds of variables, like 64 variables for bacon. And so if you think about it, oh, steak's ready. So if you think about it, all right, that looks good. But if you think about it, food recognition is faster than voice, it's faster than a search engine, and it's much easier than choosing from a list. And so what's amazing is people are using food ID a lot, and it's extremely, extremely useful and extremely, extremely valuable. And one of the interesting things, I was meeting with our machine intelligence team a few weeks ago when I was preparing for this talk, and one of the things that Nishit mentioned to me, he said, hey, by the way, Matt, we've reached a point with food recognition where we're actually better than a human. The oven is better at recognizing food than humans. And I go, I can beat the oven still. And Initially, it's like, no, really, we've hit superhuman accuracy with the oven. And I was like, all right, let's do a challenge. Challenge me versus the oven. I will beat the oven. And so the challenge began. Is that thin crust or classic crust pizza? I had no idea. The oven knew, though. And so what's fascinating is we've hit this point where the oven is better at recognizing food than humans is. And so we're able to differentiate between many different types of pizzas to automatically go to that cook program. Like I gave the example of the Whole Foods pizza earlier tonight and being able to differentiate that. And so it's really fascinating what we're able to do with computer vision on this side. So let's talk a little bit about June's neural technology. So we have food recognition. So CNN ResNet 18. We've got about 100 classes right now with a near instantaneous user experience and the superhuman accuracy that I just talked about. We do food counting, a lightweight CNN SqueezeNet, and we're able to count from 1 to 18 different versions of foods that are in the oven. ETA, so predictions using a Kalman filter to predict how long it's going to take until your food is ready. And then computer vision only ETA, so doing a deep neural network to predict ETA on that side. And so again, back to what I was saying earlier, kind of very advanced machine intelligence challenges that we're working on here at June on a daily basis. But to our end customer, we don't want them to know this. All right? They don't need to know about our collaborative filtering, personalized recipes, and the recommender systems that we're creating. To them, we just want cooking made easy, perfectly cooked food. That is all that matters to our customers. So on the cook usage side, so about 50% of all cooking that happens in the June, people are using our automated cook programs. They're using the steak program. They're using the salmon program. They're using the Whole Foods cook programs. And the primitives, as we call them, so bake, toast, air fry, etc. It's a little less than 50% now. 77% of cook programs are now launched by Food ID. So again, back to a feature that in the early days didn't feel like it was that necessary, has become one of the core focal points of cooking in the June, is people really like being able to just put their food in, tap a button, and walk away. And so food recognition is being used in about 39% of all cooking. So our top recipes, air-fried chicken is number 1. Baked eggs with tomato and basil is number 2. By the way, eggs are extremely popular in the June. What's interesting about cooking with the June is in the early days, we knew we would replace a toaster oven, and we know we would replace your big oven unless you're cooking for a large group. But what's crazy is we're able to learn from our community and the ways that they're using it in their life, and it's pretty wild. So number 1, people don't really use their microwaves anymore unless they're reheating coffee. And they're also not using their stovetop as much anymore. So things like steak, salmon, chicken breasts, people just cook that on the stovetop, people are just putting in the June and walking away. Eggs, we also do air-boiled eggs, which is really, really nice. So literally, if you want hard-boiled eggs, you just put them on the June rack, and 20 minutes, no preheat, you'll have perfectly hard-cooked eggs. Number 3 is our sriracha chicken wings. Number 4, spaghetti and meatballs. So that's 100% no stovetop spaghetti and meatballs with hard pasta. I love making that one with Sadie, my daughter. And then also the breakfast sandwich, which is a really nice bacon, egg, and bread all in one pan all together, which is really, really nice. So consumer habits are adapting. So 45% of our customers that used to eat out more than 3 times a week After June, 60% are now eating out fewer than 2 times a week and saving $160 a month eating at home. And so we're actually inspiring people to save money and to cook at home more, which is really, really exciting. And my co-founder and I, we started this company right before we started having a family. And for us, kind of being able to cook at home has really improved our health and really improved being able to control what we're eating and what's going in our bodies. And it's really, really nice to have this helper in June to help us get there. And so how does AI benefit the June community? So one area is helping the elderly and visually impaired cook safer and on their own. Here's a quote from Dwell. "This small, smart countertop oven is an excellent choice for a senior living alone, as it makes cooking simpler and safer. June takes the guesswork out of preparing meals with one touch and guided step-by-step cook programs, and a camera that can tell what food is in the oven and suggest the best way to cook it. Voice control through Echo makes it possible for the visually impaired users to cook by themselves, and caregivers can check in on the June oven and make sure it isn't on when it's not supposed to be, and it can be turned off remotely." This is a quote from one of our customers. "I love to cook, but not having vision has made it very difficult. I can't set an oven thermometer on a conventional oven, and if I could even turn it on, I would never know when the oven was preheated. With June and the cook programs, I now cook 90% of the meals for our home. With the addition of Echo, I can ask the oven to preheat, bake, roast, and even tell me the internal temperature of anything that has the probe inserted. I can even cancel a cook session, all without worry. June and Echo are game changers." I can say Alexa again. I muted the Echo.
I can put the burgers on the rack, on the pan, in the June oven, and it recognizes what it is. Alexa lets me know that the food is cooking properly, even though I can't see it. What is the internal temperature in June oven?
Roughly 2 minutes left until your food reaches 155 degrees Fahrenheit. Food is currently 124.
I hope there will be new skills added so that Alexa can tell me the options on the screen and open the possibility of interacting with programs and tips.
Love that story. And we keep hearing from more and more customers that they're able to cook for the first time since they received their June ovens. So pain points with cooking that exist today. Time is the top reason people choose not to cook. How many people often don't cook because it takes up time? All right, decent amount. We can help. 20% of people don't like to host dinner parties because they don't like being stuck in the kitchen. And 44% of people are intimidated cooking for others. So one of the things that we have when you buy your June oven is you opt in if you want to share your data with us or not. It's definitely in the high 90s of people that agree to share their data with us. And what's amazing is we're able to improve cooking for everyone with that. Right now, we have an Alexa skill, we have a Whole Foods application, we have June recipes, and see this as the building blocks for pulling together this great ecosystem of getting you perfect food every single time. With the Whole Foods app, we've partnered with Whole Foods to work with them on their most popular foods. So their fresh foods as well as their 365 frozen foods, and we're able to recognize some with the camera, other you choose from a list. And right now we have about 80% of coverage of all the food that Whole Foods sells, and we want to get that to 90 plus. And then you can also imagine a future where, what if you could order directly from your June oven? We know what you eat already. What if we could automatically replenish? There's a lot of interesting things that we can do here with Amazon Fresh as well as with Whole Foods to enable people to be more successful when it comes to cooking. On the future side, An area that our team is spending time on right now is something that we call enhanced ETA. So enhanced ETA is being able to predict the time of doneness based on carryover temperatures for various foods, right? So for like the steak, we said we wanted to let it rest for 5 minutes before eating it. We're not allowed to eat it, sorry. But being able to use our predictive algorithms to predict what should the carryover time be. Should it be more? Should it be less? And we think this is a very important feature for our end customers. And then final thing, before questions, be sure to attend the Romars Party on Thursday, June 6th at 8 p.m. and participate in the All-Stars Romars BattleBots Challenge for your chance to win a June oven, which will be featured in the grand prize package. So you have a chance to win through BattleBots to win a June oven. My name is Matt Van Horn, at mvanhorn on Twitter, and would love to take some questions before people start exiting the room.